Okay, so let's get right into it. You hear it all the time, right? The high street is dying. But what if everyone's got the diagnosis totally wrong? We're going to look at why the real future of retail isn't about slashing prices. It's about creating an experience so amazing, so memorable, that your customers, they don't just buy from you, they become your biggest fans. And to really understand what's going on, let's kick things off with a simple story, a tale of two stores. And I'm willing to bet this is something you've probably experienced yourself, in one way or another. All right, picture this. You walk into a store, you're ready to buy a suit. You've done your homework, you saw it online, but in the store, it's 130 euros more. Ouch. And you wait, and nobody even comes over to help you. There's no vibe, no story, no service. Zip. So you just walk out. Now fast forward to later that week. You pop into a completely different shop just for something simple like getting a pair of trousers altered. But get this, before you can even say anything, they're bringing you a whole rack of shoes to try on just to get the heel height perfect. Someone brings your coffee, you pay on a slick little tablet. And the next time you go back, they actually remember you. It's the same person, right? You, but a totally different outcome. One store didn't just lose a sale, they lost a customer. The other, they didn't just make a sale, they created a fan. And that little story, it just perfectly captures the heart of the problem. You know, our source material says it best. Retail has gotten so obsessed with efficiency with all these metrics like footfall and basket size, but it's completely forgotten the most important question of all, which is simply, did the customer leave feeling good? Did they have a good time? And listen, this isn't just some feel-good philosophical point. That lack of joy, it has massive real-world consequences. The market is in what some experts are calling a permacrisis. It's a permanent crisis. And when you look at the numbers, well, they are absolutely staggering. Just look at this. 17,145. That's the number of stores in the UK alone that shut their doors for good in 2022. Just 1 year. And behind every one of those closed stores are people. Over 150,000 retail jobs just gone in that same year. We're talking about a crisis with a huge human cost. So how on earth did we get here? Well, the research points to a perfect storm, really. You've got the unstoppable rise of online shopping, of course. Then the pandemic came along and just threw gasoline on that fire, changing all our habits. Then, bam, 2022 inflation hits, and suddenly everyone's focused on value. And on top of all that, there's been this quiet but huge shift in how we spend our money. Less on stuff and more on experiences, travel, going out to eat. Okay, so faced with this absolute storm, you think retailers would have a solid game plan, right? But what if the plan most of them are running with is based on a completely wrong diagnosis of what's actually broken? Think about it. What's the knee-jerk reaction? It's almost always the same, isn't it? We gotta compete with online. Cut prices. Cut them again. Then it's optimize logistics. Squeeze every penny out of the supply chain. And of course, the big one. We need an app. Let's launch an app. Yeah, well, according to the research we're looking at, that's just wrong. Completely the wrong approach. And here's the absolute key takeaway. The problem isn't that online is cheap. It's not that some new app exists. The real problem is that physical retail became joyless. It became a chore. They gave customers absolutely no reason to show up and pay a little bit more. And this is such a fascinating way to frame it. Most retailers think they have a technology gap. If only we had a better app or a fancier website. But the problem isn't technology. It's a culture gap. It's about attitude. It's the difference between a cashier who looks bored out of their mind and an advisor who's genuinely excited to help you, who offers you a coffee, who starts a real conversation. Okay, so if that's the real problem, what's the cure? Well, it's a simple idea, but it's a profound shift in thinking. You have to stop trying to just make a sale and start trying to make a fan. And let's be super clear about what we mean by a fan. This isn't about a loyalty program or collecting points on a card. That's not it at all. A fan is just a customer who leaves your store feeling like they were actually seen, like someone helped them, and like they were genuinely valued as a person. It's all about that human connection. So what does it take to make someone feel that way? Honestly, it's not rocket science. People want a store that kind of knows them, but without being creepy about it. They want the physical space to feel like part of the same brand story they see online. They want staff who are more like helpful advisors, not just people there to take your money. And this is a big one. They demand to be able to trust you with their data, genuinely trust you. And here is such a brilliant, simple example of this in action. Imagine you're just putting a sign in your shop window that says, "Hey, we're redesigning our shop. For you. Which version do you like best?" Just like that, in a matter of seconds, a random person walking by becomes a co-creator. You give them updates, you show them the progress. All of a sudden, they're invested. They have a stake in it. They're not just a consumer anymore. They're a fan. And how much did that cost? Absolutely nothing. Right. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds nice and fluffy, but does it actually make money? Fair question. So let's pivot to the hard data and see how this all connects back to the bottom line. And the numbers here are just incredibly clear. Look at this chart. It shows that so-called omni-channel shoppers, people who engage with a brand both online and in-store, they spend 50% more. And those true fans, the ones we're talking about, they buy stuff almost 3 times more often than your average customer. This isn't just a feeling, it's a direct line to more revenue. And the return on this kind of investment is huge. When you do personalization right, you can see a revenue lift of up to 25%. Just by showing your customers you can be trusted with their data, that can boost conversions by 15%. You put all this together, and you're looking at a realistic 3-year return on investment of 3 to 4 times what you put in. It's a no-brainer. And the best part is, this isn't some impossible pie-in-the-sky dream. The sources we're looking at lay out a really clear 3-phase journey to get there. You start with the quick wins, fixing the stuff that's obviously broken. Then you start building the real connections between your online and physical worlds. And finally, you scale it all up and optimize. It's a real, achievable process. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. After everything we've looked at, the failing strategies, the staggering human cost, and the crystal clear data on what actually works, is it possible that the future of retail is less about what you sell and way, way more about how you make people feel? Something to think about.